Welcome, everybody. I'm very happy to host this next interview with Vera Futorjanski. Our topic is going to be current trends and challenges of early stage venture capital investments. Vera, you have more than 7 years of specific venture capital experience in this field. You have worked internationally. Please give us a brief introduction about yourself and your current work projects.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. So at the moment, I'm based in Dubai. I've been in Dubai for almost 6 years now. I'm advising a family office on everything on VC, venture capital and investment related. We're building actually a VC arm for the family office right now. Before that, I was with a company called 500 Startups, which is an early stage VC fund out of San Francisco, the most active VC fund in the world in terms of small checks. I do a lot of small checks in many startups globally. I was managing the Middle East, North Africa region for them and Russia. And before that, I was with Rocket Internet for a few years. So that's where you could say my VC and venture building career really started.
Thank you so much. So we have, within the last few months, I think all of us experienced a very special, challenging situation with this global pandemic, COVID-19. So how's that specifically affected your work within the last weeks?
Yeah, it's true. I mean, it affected it a lot. I think here in Dubai, as well as everywhere in the world, things have changed. Obviously, I'm at home, you're at home. So we're having this on Zoom now. Very typical. It has affected a lot of startups that are, in different areas than those that became the winners of this pandemic, if you like to say it like that. So, everything digital, everything that, doesn't require you to actually go out, obviously picked up a lot here as well. A trend that I see a lot here in the region is a cashless payment, so fintech startups have done really well. And that's really interesting because, when I moved here to the region, credit card payments was really rare. I remember actually with Rocket Internet, and one of the companies here is a big fashion online company they built. And it was always cash on delivery. People didn't like paying by cards, and Saudi was the biggest market, but it was always cash on delivery. And now, because of safety reasons, people don't want to touch money. Cashless payment has accelerated immensely. So those startups are doing really well. That's a big trend. Obviously, education online, health tech is really big. And also health tech is actually really important here for the region, for us as well. I recently read some statistics. We only have, I think, 1.3 doctors for 1,000 people compared to almost 4 doctors per 1,000 people in Europe. So we have a lot of work to do here. And obviously, if you have it online on your app that you can access a doctor, you don't necessarily have to go to see one. That helps a lot. So health tech really picked up here. And also food tech. And it's a topic I'm really bullish about, food tech in general. And so I can speak about it already now.
Please.
It's, here in Dubai, we import almost 85% of our food, right? So with supply chains haven't broken overnight pretty much, even though we never had a shortage of anything here, but still, I think it made a lot of governments and people realize that you have to become so much more self-sufficient. So I think agriculture tech and food security in general will become a big topic here for us in the region. And I'm really looking forward to that. In fact, actually I have friends who work for a hydroponic farming company, and I just delivered 2 boxes of lettuce for me yesterday.
Oh.
I'm now eating hydroponic farmed lettuce from Abu Dhabi. So that's quite special. And so, I see some clear winners, unfortunately some losers as well. But, to go back to your question, I think I'm a big believer of the never waste an opportunity mindset. So, and we've experienced that in our lifetime already a couple of times. If you think back to the .com bubble that gave birth to some of the biggest companies like Google or Amazon, then if you think to the financial crisis, that was an impetus for all the fintech or decentralized systems, and obviously all cryptocurrency, blockchain, it all was born then. But also some of the most used apps that we have now on our phones, even, like Uber, Airbnb, Netflix, were all born out of the financial crisis. So I'm quite positive that this crisis will also be birth to some of the most amazing startups that we can't even think of right now. Probably it might be in the travel industry, because we need to rethink our way of traveling, our way of going to hotels. Or it might be education or health, ag tech, of course, as well. So I'm quite I'm positive about this. Of course, I don't want to belittle the crisis. It's a huge pandemic and it has affected us here a lot as well. But I do think for startups, it could be a great opportunity. Yeah.
So would you also say that investors, or you from an investor's perspective, don't take this crisis as an excuse to maybe be more cautious with your investments, but you rather would like to see it as a challenge to say, okay, now we have this crisis, now we have new challenges to overcome, so we should invest more or even faster, or even come up with solutions faster and support these creative founders in order to overcome it. So it's not a stop on investment from your investor's perspective.
Yeah, so I observed a sentiment shift. In the beginning, everybody was super careful and people tried to say, okay, let us hold the money for now, not invest, let's observe the situation. And then people realized it's not going to be over in a couple of weeks, so you can't just hold back. Also, most of the funds that have raised a couple of years ago, they've been investing for a while already, so it's not those funds that are already in investment phase. I think they're held back a little bit, but now most of the investors I speak to actually really seeing this as an opportunity and are investing. Obviously, you do your due diligence. The trend first was to invest in your own portfolio companies first before you go to others. But now I see, if you're a startup founder and you have, a product that either is really useful now already or will be useful afterwards, because obviously as a startup founder, and they're great. I mean, most of them I speak to, they're very creative, very agile in a way of thinking. We need them for, innovation. And I worked a lot on building ecosystems, and I always feel startups are the integral part, of any economy for any country, because they are so integral for innovation and this whole ecosystem building. So as a VC, it's almost, we need to support them in order for them to be able to innovate. And they are now looking at what will be those new behaviors, right? So we almost need to think forward a lot. This foresight is really crucial now for people who are building startups or pivoting their existing startups. You need to have the foresight of understanding how will we change our behaviors from what we have now to in the next months or years to come. And startups that come up with great ideas, even if they are not existing portfolio companies already, I think they have a good chance to receive investments. I really see that the VC side has picked up a lot. People are investing now. It's not as it was, let's say, in March, where people were really careful.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear this out of your mouth, because that's my current that's my current view on things as well, because as a lawyer I have also noticed a lot of movement in the markets. I see as many deals as before. Obviously within the due diligence processes, a new let's say Corona point is included. People evaluate how this pandemic or others may affect the business case in future. But still, I agree totally that I have not noticed a major stop in the early stage investment. It may differ a little bit if it comes to corporate investors. I have a feeling of them being a little bit more restrictive at the moment, but that may have other reasons, because they don't have necessarily have a investment period to keep up with, etc. So they may be a little bit more relaxed or cautious in these cases.
A trend I see actually are family offices. So I feel family offices, and I can speak obviously on behalf of all, but at least in the region, I see the trend that family offices became very interested in technology. I mean, 5 of the biggest companies are tech companies, right? If you look at the stock market, Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, they're all technology companies. And I think the family offices here in the region, who used to normally invest in real estate or something a bit more, let's say, tangible in their view, right, are now looking at technology investments, and it's mostly the young generation family offices. So that's an interesting trend I've observed as well, where family offices either investing on their own or they actually come together to invest jointly into technology startups.
So do you think technology startups have a corona advantage versus like non-tangible startups or companies, because they are, by virtue of their business case, have a closer connection to digitalization, remote access, etc.?
Well, I am in technology, so I'm a bit biased. I do think
okay.
Technology startups are the winners of this pandemic. So and I'm a big believer in technology. So yeah, I mean, even if I speak about technology, it's still technology related. So be hydroponic farming or aquaponic farming or health apps or education online. So that's all connected to technology. So I think those will do really well. If you're a startup that has I don't know, or if you have a restaurant, that's of course more difficult now. But if you're a startup in travel industry and you pivot to something new and interesting, I can potentially, there might be big opportunities as well. I mean, some of the sovereign, the PIF, Public Investment Fund, it's Saudi Arabia's biggest sovereign wealth fund. They recently invested in Carnival cruises, which is not necessarily an investment you would think of to do right now. If you kind of logically or short term, but they're thinking long term, so the whole on Carnival cruises, to pick up again, or the whole travel industry. And because it's a big untapped market for Saudi Arabia, the whole tourism market. So by investing in a cruise liner, they're actually opening up to tourism. So that's a very kind of long-term investment thinking.
So when we talk about long-term investment strategies or views, what do you think is a major focus that you wish for investors to keep in mind when talking about long-term investment, other than just financial return?
Yeah, well, you know that I'm really passionate about impact investing, right? So I really hope not only think about, in return on investment, but we actually really think about people who will be benefiting on that. And I say, return on people. And return on people has been used a lot by kind of thinking of employees who work in companies. And I think, that's super important. I'm all about creating a culture, and it all goes, top down. Leadership is super important. But when I say return on people, I also mean the consumers, the ones who will be benefiting from that. And that's why I'm so bullish, on technology, because imagine, you have access to education now, and we know how limited many people are, in remote areas. And I'm thinking mostly even of girls, girls don't get so much access to education already now. And we know that they are the driving force, if we really want to improve our economies. So if a girl in a remote village in India or Nigeria now can access education online, and of course that's assuming they have access to technology, because that's also not a given everywhere. So but assuming they have phones or iPads or laptops, if they can access education online, that's huge. And if we can invest in those startups that offer that education online to people, to young kids in remote villages, I think that can make a big difference. So then you have your return on investment as an LP in the funds, but you also get you really impact lives. So you impact, I think Peter Diamandis uses that a lot, that you impact 1 billion lives. So how does he call it? Something there's a certain phrase he uses, but he talks about impacting. Become a billionaire means impact 1 billion lives, not have $1 billion in your company. So it's really, and same with health. That's why I think health tech is a big area of interest for me as well. And I'm thinking of, my own vision, if I have a fund, is health tech and ed tech and ag tech, most probably, because health tech and wellness and mental health falls under that as well. I think mental health became a big topic now as well, which I'm really happy about, especially because here in the region we have a big stigma about kind of talking about mental health. It's not really done, or failing, people not to speak about failing or failures. And now some of the successful entrepreneurs have started speaking about it. So that's a big improvement. So the whole health area. And I think, I might have mentioned it before, but, if you can have access on your phone to doctors, and that goes back to the same, remote areas, I think we can save so many lives, just by being able to quickly recognize, does this needs, is there something that can be solved at home, or do you need to go to the hospital immediately? So I think this, so yeah, impact investing, impacting lives, impacting as many people as we can by helping them, either get out of poverty, by educating them, become healthier, by creating, give access to health apps, by talking about mental health. And I was really happy to hear recently I spoke to somebody who does a lot of work and impact here in the region. And I was told that a mental health startup in Saudi Arabia is doing really well. That was, I think that's amazing, because that's very much, a regional culture of not wanting to lose face. And if you say that you have some mental health issues, it's almost it's considered like losing face. But now that we speak out about it openly, I think we can create a lot of impact, and help people succeed. Yeah.
Wow, thank you so much, Vera. So to sum it up, I think it's a very good and honest, and also I think very futuristic approach to also focus on this return on people aspect. You already mentioned health and also food tech, or the areas of health tech and food tech that you are very interested in. My understanding is especially because the return on people in these fields can be enormous. So thank you very much for this brief interview. Thank you for your time. It was a pleasure to talk to you. And obviously the audience is happy to comment our video, reach out to you directly, or ask if they have further questions in the aftermath. And for now, I would like to thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. Thank you for having me.